Bhathiya, I want to ask you something to start off the conversation and give our audience a kind of background view. So we say that public speaking is a big fear of people, and why is this such a challenge?
What you think of yourself, how you will think of yourself, what is your self-talk? Is it a negative self-talk or a positive self-talk? I must tell you that I don't consider public speaking anxiety or the fear as a chronic disease. What you think of others' opinion and the outcome of your speech. It's a skill you can learn, develop and improve. That doesn't mean that Sri Lankans do not have public speakings. We have good skills and we have a lot of people who have the skill, but we don't have platforms for them to showcase their talents and develop their skills. I would say a good speaker is a person who knows his purpose and achieve his purpose with less time and effort. So you need to be effective and efficient as a speaker. You can't waste time of your audience. Now at the same time, you should be able to achieve your purpose. I would say that my proposal is that public speaking should come as part and parcel of the school syllabus. It has to be available to everyone in Sri Lanka, not only Colombo but also outside, because we will be able to see how they groom and how they become better speakers.
Public speaking is said to be one of the top fears of many people around the world. We're going to talk about all of this and more with Bhathiya Hettiarachchi. Stay tuned.
Some bonds give more returns. Get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LMDtv Finance.
The latest issue of LMD International is available at lmdmall.lk. You can also access the digital version on Press Reader, Maxter, our social media platforms and WhatsApp.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. Today we are talking about talking, or more specifically public speaking. And with me I have Bhathiya Hettiarachchi, who is the Manager Transaction Banking at Sampath Bank, who is also a distinguished Toastmaster. Bhathiya, welcome to the show and thank you very much for accepting our invitation.
Same here. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me for the program.
Bhathiya, I want to ask you something to start off the conversation and give our audience a kind of background view. So we say that public speaking is a big fear of people, and our human mind starts working when we are born and it ends working when we are asked to speak in public. Why is this such a challenge?
Well, Ruwandi, it's a very good question. I have actually done a research into this area with my students and as well as with professionals, and I have found two key reasons. The reason number one is what you think of yourself. Now, if you are given an opportunity to speak, how you will think of yourself? What is your self-talk? Is it a negative self-talk or a positive self-talk? So if you start telling yourself, I'm not good at it, I might get criticized, I might make a mistake, I will get judged, and I don't have experience. If you start telling all the negative things about you to yourself, then you will feel, okay, I'm not good. And when you feel that I'm not good, you feel threatened, right? Then the second point is what you think of others' opinion and the outcome of your speech. So if you start thinking negatively about the opinions and the outcome of your speech, then again you will get into this negative mood. You might think, okay, I will get criticized, people will laugh at me, I will get judged, I will lose my social status and the dignity. So then you are telling your mind, okay, I'm at a threat. So your mind will perceive the public speaking opportunity as a threat but not as an opportunity. Right? So when you are threatened and when your comfort zone is challenged, you generate fear. Right? So when you generate fear, you feel, okay, I should not go to that situation. Right? So I rather run away from that than getting into trouble and losing myself, my social status and my dignity. So this negative attitude towards the public speaking is the prime reason that people fear public speaking. Now this fear is okay. Now you need to have some level of fear if you want to do a good thing. I mean, it's naturally there to protect you, right? So if you have some level of fear and stress, then you will prepare yourself, right? And then you will do a lot of things to overcome that situation and the fear. Now it's not removing the fear that matters. It is not possible. Even the world champions will have some sort of a stress, some sort of nervousness when they go into different audiences. But the beauty is how well you can manage your fear. So it's all about managing your fear, and it's all about encountering it, and basically your positive attitude to go to the unknown territories. Because public speaking is a situation where you do not know the outcome. And we generally try to avoid unknown situations, right? And that is why people try to avoid public speaking situation and stay in their comfort zones. And if they don't do that and explore the possibility of speaking, they will never develop, right? So I must tell you that I don't consider public speaking anxiety or the fear as a chronic disease. It's not something like that, right? So it is something that you can overcome with proper practice and training. So it's a skill you can learn, develop and improve, right? So provided you put your heart and soul into it, yes, you can overcome the fear and become a good public speaker.
So Bhathiya, like you said, public speaking is a skill that you can, develop and improve. I'm going to ask you something a little different now. In a world where we are being digitally connected, digitally transformed, we are becoming increasingly connected, but also becoming increasingly isolated.
Yeah.
In such a context, how important a skill is public speaking?
Now we have to look at public speaking in a broader way. Now, when you tell public speaking, we generally picture a speaker behind lectern,
yes,
speaking to a mic and to a physical audience. But the modern public speaking, another facet of public speaking can be identified as you speaking to virtual audiences. Now, this new trend, speaking to virtual audiences, actually poses a challenge to the traditional public speakers to look at new skills,
yes,
and to unlearn and relearn new skills related to the digital platforms and apply those in order to become effective. Now, in a digital platform, you have a lot of advantages. You can connect with diverse audiences and you can very easily connect with them irrespective of the geographical barriers. So, ample opportunity for you to speak to larger audiences. But the problem is you don't see them physically.
Yes.
There's no emotional connection, right? There's no engagement.
No eye contact.
No eye contact. And you can't understand their feedback, right? You don't know whether they understand what you say or not because you are not exposed to the non-verbal cues. Now, I have been a lecturer for a long time, so I have been teaching students in a physical setup, and it was very engaging, right? It's very human, I would say. So you crack jokes, you connect with them, and you can see whether they understand what you say or not by looking at their faces. But when it comes to the online platform, sometimes they don't even come show their faces, right?
Yes.
And you don't know whether they are listening to you and whether they have got disengaged because there will be a lot of distractions, and the chances of them disconnecting with you is very high because there is no physical involvement. So therefore, the new modern public speaking need in the virtual platforms need certain skills such as having polls, gamification, right? And also things like you putting them into breakout rooms to do some activities, right? And you need to engage with them a lot, asking questions and more conversational approach rather than you trying to tell and ask them to listen.
Yeah.
Instead, more conversational approach. So these are the challenges that you face, and how do you bring in that emotional connection? Now that is where you need to learn storytelling, apply humor, right? And then basically learn how to ask questions. Now what I would like to tell you is like, okay, when you go on a virtual platform, it is an opportunity for you to reach the world because your audience will be the entire world. Limitless, right? But if you want to capitalize on that, you need to learn new skills. You need to learn technology, right? And how to handle the technological platforms and as well as to conduct polls and then have interactive slides, then use videos, then perhaps ask questions and then have polls. So if you learn all these techniques, I would say that you can still connect with a larger audience than in the physical setup and become more effective.
So Bhathiya, I think we spoke about public speaking in general. I want to now zoom in on Sri Lanka and Sri Lankans. From what you have seen and observed, what is your assessment of the public speaking abilities and skills of Sri Lankans?
Okay, Ruwandi, I have been a lecturer for the last 15 years and I have engaged with a lot of public speaking encounters, and I have visited a lot of conferences here and outside. Now, my assessment, honest assessment is that we are little shy and backward when it comes to speaking, public speaking. Now, if you go and ask from a Sri Lankan audience, do you have questions? You seldom find people raising their hands and asking questions, right? So most of them are very silent. But in contrast, if you go to India and ask them, do you have questions? My God, you can't stop them. I mean, everyone wants to ask questions. Now, I have also done a little bit of a study as to why. Now, one thing is the cultural background. Now, we are a high power distance culture, and generally we are risk averse. We consider mistakes as shameful instead of a learning opportunity. And generally, we would like to be in our comfort zones and seek acceptance rather than voicing our opinion. Now, this is the general nature of our country that I have seen when I go to certain audiences. So, as opposed to the Western world, I mean, if you really look at the Western world, they really want to voice their opinions, and they consider mistakes as a learning opportunity, and I mean, they don't have fear of expressing their opinion. Maybe because they are more, they are less traditional and less, I would say, low power distance. Now, that doesn't mean that Sri Lankans do not have public speakings. We have seen champions, even the world champions. We have generated world champions. So, I would like basically come to a conclusion. We have good skills, and we have a lot of people who have the skill, but we don't have platforms for them to showcase their talents and develop their skills. We don't have a system to groom them and develop this public speaking skill from their childhood so that we create better speakers. Now, how do we handle this situation? I would think that the public speaking should come into our curriculum as a subject. Right? Because this is a skill that you need to learn. This is not something that you can learn by reading books. Right? Now, if you want to swim, you need to get into the pool. Right? If you want to play the piano, you need to play it. Right? Similarly, if you want to become a good speaker, you need to speak. Now, have you given that opportunity to our children from the childhood? Do you have that opportunity when they get into the university? Right? So, there is a huge need to have a platform for the Sri Lankans to develop their public speaking skills from their childhood. And the challenge that they face is when they are in the school, they are told study, right? And the focus is more on imparting knowledge. But when they come to the corporate world, we say speak. Right?
There's a mismatch.
There's a mismatch, and we hire them for their educational qualifications, but we value their performance where they have to put their knowledge into action. Now, in order for them to put the knowledge into action, they need these enabling skills such as public speaking. Right? So, therefore, I would say my proposal is that public speaking should come as part and parcel of the school syllabus. Right? Some schools they do have that, especially international schools, but it has to be available to everyone in Sri Lanka, not only Colombo but also outside, so that I can answer you in a much positive way next time, right? Because we will be able to see how they groom and how they become better speakers.
Of course, that's the hope. Bhathiya, I want to ask you to get into a little bit of technicalities here. So, like you said in a previous answer, public speaking is a skill that you can, develop and improve. If we are to assess this skill in people a little bit, what causes someone to be good at public speaking and what causes them to be not so good?
Okay, that's a lovely question. Let me look at it in this way. First, we have to define who's a good speaker.
Yes.
Right? Now, who is a good speaker? I would say a good speaker is a person who knows his purpose and achieve his purpose with less time and effort. So you need to be effective and efficient as a speaker. You can't waste time of your audience. Now at the same time, you should be able to achieve your purpose. So that tells us the whole exercise starts with a purpose. So if you don't have a message, if you are not clear about your purpose, what do you want people to do after listening to your speech? Then you can't become a good speaker because you also don't know what you want, right? So you need to be proactive and ask yourself, okay, at the end of my speech, what do I want people to do? Do I want them to think different? Do I want them to act different? Right? So that is the number one. Then number two, now how am I going to achieve my purpose? Now that is where you have to look at your speech as a strategy, right? Now you execute this strategy in a particular context, right? And different contexts require different strategies. Now what is the context? The context include the audience, right? The setup, the time of the day, the facilities you have. Now all these things defines your context, and the key and the most important thing in that is your audience, right? Now you can't have the same strategy to sell a savings product to parents and children, right? So you need two different speech strategies, right? So similarly, when you speak to Gen Z, it's a different strategy. When you speak to Gen X, it's a different strategy. When you speak to your board of directors, it's a different strategy, and when you speak to your subordinate, it's different. So you need to be clear with your context and develop your strategy. Now, what is the strategy? Now, strategy includes your content and as well as the props you use, the body language, the eye contact, the emotions you want to bring in, the research, all those things comes into this strategy. So in that, the most important thing is your content. Now, if you don't have rich quality content, there is no point you going and playing drama on stage, right? So creating sensation on stage does not define a good speaker, right? So the most important thing is what is the quality of your content. Now, are your points very concrete, specific, backed by research, right? So that shows your logical appeal. So you speak to the mind of the people. Then you need to also bring in emotions, right? That is where you craft stories, right? That is where you bring in humor. That is where you bring in engaging conversations, right? So you address the heart of the people, right? So a good strategy will have logical appeal and as well as the emotional appeal, right? So then what is the third important factor? Third important factor is you as a speaker. How confident you are, how sincere you are when you are delivering the speech. Now you cannot, most of us, when we are given a situation to speak, we try to become artificial, right? We go into a different state and we try to, do the perfect job. It's not going to work, right? A good speaker is a sincere person and people should feel it, right? A good speaker is a confident person. So if you are confident about yourself, then people will buy into your ideas. And if they find that you are not confident and you are not sincere, they will not accept it. It doesn't matter how good your content is, right? So how will you develop this confidence? Now that is where the preparation and practice comes in. So a good speaker will never underestimate the value of preparation and practice. Now you need to prepare yourself, you need to practice, you need to rehearse so that you don't worry what will happen next. You don't worry about what should be my body language next. Where should I walk? What should I say next? Because you have done it, right? You have rehearsed it. So you are very confident about your next moment, right? So a good speaker is a person who is proactive, who value effectiveness and efficiency. And good speaker is a person who speaks with a purpose, and he has rich content, he has logical appeal, emotional appeal, and his strategy is structured based on the context, and very importantly, he prepare and he is confident, right? So if you see these qualities, I would say that person is a good speaker. And bad speaker, yes,
the opposite.
The opposite.
Wow, I love that breakdown. That is absolutely spot on. Thank you very much for sharing that. It's time now to take a very short break, but we'll soon be back to talk more about public speaking.
What makes a truly awesome insurance company? Is it the skills to manage big numbers and big responsibilities? Well, that's definitely part of it. But there's more. It's the people. They're awesome. Super passionate about looking out for others and putting in their time for people's finances. It's not just the people. It's how we do things that's awesome. From being trendsetters of the industry to being connectors or inventors. It's about well-being and how we achieve it. Our teams hustle non-stop to meet the needs of the people. That's why we're on the rise. But it's not just about how we do things either. It's about how we improve things. Helping our clients thrive in a world that's full of awesome goals to achieve. Making the maximum out of the minimum. But wait, there's more to it. There's one last thing that truly makes an insurance company awesome. It's that we care about our people and our customers. All of this combined, it's been a pretty awesome year. And we're excited for tomorrow.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We are in conversation with Bhathiya Hettiarachchi and talking about public speaking. Bhathiya, in your answer, you mentioned the word confidence a lot. If I ask you, does having confidence or being confident make you a good speaker, or is being a good speaker make you confident?
Wow, it's a very tricky question, Ruwandi. In fact, I would say that a person should have some level of confidence, right? Some level of trust in his ability to speak, for him to stand up and speak first, right? So if you don't have confidence at all, you will avoid the situation. You will not even stand up, right? And you will say, no way, right? But if you have some level of confidence by watching others or going through some programs, some activities, or because you have been given some positive energy by a mentor or a coach, you will stand up to speak, right? So the confidence helps you to stand up as a public speaker and start your speaking journey. Then when you deliver good speeches and start getting praise, start getting positive feedback, when people start appreciating you for delivering a speech and changing their lives, it will start boosting your confidence. Right? So, I mean, it can feed either way, right? So, you need confidence to start as a public speaker, and when you get engaged with more and more public speaking engagements and get positive feedback and you do well, then it will boost your confidence so that you will start doing better and better. Then you will start going to more challenging situations, right? First you might speak only with your friends, then you might speak with your office colleagues. Perhaps once you build more confidence, you will go out and speak to a crowd. And if you build more and more confidence, sometimes you might start a YouTube channel, or you might start webinars where you speak to the world, right? So that's how it goes.
Wow. Bhathiya, I want to come back to the Sri Lankan situation. I mean, we have a lot of talented students coming out of the education system, whether it's undergrad or postgrad, but more often than not, we see that there is a mismatch between their skills and then what corporate needs, because they have the knowledge. I mean, these are really, really smart students, but for some reason there is an application issue. So what is your advice to them, and how can budding professionals kind of bridge that gap when it comes to their, of course, academic achievements as well as their career prospects?
Okay, right. A very interesting question. Now, I'm sure you have heard the statement, knowledge is power, right? Now, let me ask you a simple question. What do corporates want? Knowledge or performance?
Performance, of
Performance, of course, right? So, if you interpret this statement wrong, then you are in real trouble. And that is what is happening to most of the young people. Yes, knowledge is really required. Without knowledge, you can't become a speaker or you can't do anything. But just having knowledge without the enabling skills, now that is a new word for soft skills, enabling skills, such as the public speaking, interpersonal skills, leadership skills, how can you generate value to a company? You can become, you may be a person who has a degree in management or MBA, right? But when you get into a corporate, what matters is how you handle your team. What matters is how you deal with your customers, how you generate that energy, motivation, inspiration, and drive them towards the goals that you want to achieve. Now, you cannot do that just by having knowledge. You need a lot of soft skills, right? So, knowledge is power, yes, provided you have acquired the right skill set, right? Then only you can apply knowledge into corporate situations and generate performance or generate value to the company. Now, if you can generate value to your organization, the organization value you more, right? So, you'll be hired, you'll be promoted, you'll be given more bonuses, and you'll be retained, right? If not, yes, of course, you will not find opportunities. It's not that we don't have jobs, perhaps you're not ready, right? So, therefore, as much as we focus in developing knowledge, we also should have a focused approach or strategy as a nation to develop soft skills of our youth, or basically the students, I would say. Right? So how do you do it? We need, as I told you previously, this public speaking and other skill development to be part of the school curriculum. Then number two, the companies or organizations should also consider it as very valuable. Because some organizations focus more on technical skills. They think, okay, when you educate your employees with regard to the technical skills, the features of the products and the processes, they will do well. No, they will do really, really well if you develop their soft skills, right? Because you work in a social setup, right?
With other people.
Exactly. Now, there's no point knowing the features of the product if you can't convince a customer, right? So, the organizations should also have platforms in their organizations to have a focused approach to develop the skills of their employees. Now, for example, the organization I work, we have the Sampath Bank Toastmasters Club. Now, that is the first corporate club in the country and the second Toastmasters Club in the country. Now, because they had that platform, I was able to develop my public speaking skills. I was able to develop my leadership skills. Now, that is because they had this platform. Now, if they didn't have this platform, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to continue or basically improve my skills. So, as a corporate, they have given us a platform, and as corporates in this country, we should always allow such platforms to our employees for them to practice, because this is a skill. If you don't practice, if you don't continuously do, then you lose it, right? So the other thing that I would say is that we need some professional service providers. Now there's a gap, right? So we also can bridge that gap. We need professional coaches and mentors, right, who will actually support these young people to develop their skills, right? Stay with them, be with them, and help them. So there is a gap, or I would say an opportunity for such professions in this country, right? The other thing, the attitude of the youngsters. Now they have to understand, by going through the routine job or going through the routine education that they go through will not help them to develop their career, right? So they need to sharpen their skills, because you can become an expert, but if you fall short of your public speaking skills, you will not be able to convince others the expertise you have, right? So at the end of the day, you are judged and valued by looking at how you communicate your value, right? So now for that, they need to get engaged with platforms such as Toastmasters, where they get continuous improvement in their communication and leadership skills. And I must tell you, we talked about technology. Yes. Now the technology has actually brought in a lot of support in this area. Now you have apps where you can speak and basically get feedback, right? About your rate of speaking, about your pronunciation, and what is your tone. They will give you all the feedback. Now that is where the artificial intelligence and the technology has gone in. So unlike in our era where we have to go in front of a mirror and practice, now you can record your speeches and see how you perform, right? So the youth or the youngsters should get the best out of this technology and use those new apps and the digital platforms that are available that will improve their speaking skills. So the moment you do that, you will be able to use your knowledge and add more value to your organization, and you will be valued more.
But it was lovely talking to you, and it was such an insightful conversation, and unfortunately we've come to the end of it. But before we let you go, I would like to ask you to share your concluding thoughts with us, and of course any advice that you have for our audience.
Yeah, thank you, Ruwandi, for asking that question. Now, as I told you earlier, don't think public speaking is something that you should be born with. Right? It's not something, there's nothing called born speakers, right? Yeah. So it's a skill that you can practice, develop, and become good at. So I would leave few thoughts as to how you will handle the nervousness or basically the fear of public speaking, which might help our audience.
Yeah.
So the first recommendation is try to avoid becoming perfect. So if you try to become a perfect person and try to deliver perfect speeches, you will never give a speech. Right? So perfect song is never sung, perfect book never written, perfect girlfriend never found. Right? So you can't wait until you become perfect or you create that perfect speech to deliver it. Right? So you need to shift your mindset to do your best. Right? It's not a perfect job, but do your best, and your best will improve. Right? So as a kid, you will focus doing your best, and over time, you will improve your best. Right? So just try to do your best. You don't have to become the Superman or the Superwoman on stage, and you don't have to worry who's there on the stage, because you are doing your best. Right? Just do it. Right? And the important thing is, when it comes to your thought process, start positive self-talk. Yeah. So if you look at a situation as negative and focus only on the negative outcomes, then you cannot become positive or confident to start a speech. Yeah. Right? So your attitude should shift from looking at the negative side of the opportunity, but focus more on the positive side. Right? So as I told you, if you focus on the negative side, you will not even get into the road. Yes. Right? Because you might think, okay, a vehicle might come and hit me. Right? Yeah. So you don't focus on that risk, you focus on your destination. Similarly, when you speak, don't think about all the negative things that can happen to you. Just focus on your message. Right? Just focus on your message and try to deliver it, and good things will happen. Right? So the third advice I would like to leave with you is that don't try to compare yourself. Yeah. Just be yourself. Right? So when you try to compare yourself, you find giants and lilliputs. Right? So when you see a good speaker, an outstanding speaker, you might think, okay, I'm not good. Yeah. I can't deliver. Right? And when you see someone who's struggling, you think, okay, I'm really good. Right? So you don't have to compare yourself. Just be yourself and just deliver. Right? And we must never forget, the most important thing in our life to become successful is not our knowledge or anything else, but the opportunities. Yeah. Right? If you are not given an opportunity, you will never become successful in life, although you are highly qualified, highly talented. Right? So therefore, whenever you get a public speaking opportunity, take it positively. Yeah. Right? And get the best out of the opportunity, so that you will be able to thrive in your personal and professional life. So that's my final option.
Lovely. Amazing tips for all of us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We've been in conversation with the Manager Transaction Banking at Sampath Bank and also distinguished Toastmaster Bhathiya Hettiarachchi. Bhathiya, thank you very much for a delightful and insightful conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.